Hey guys, it's Christian from Emotions in Wine. I thought all time, as I stated more times, that the coast, in particular Dalmatia, southern Dalmatia, was the top of Croatian wine, the heart. But a sommelier in Zagreb a few months ago told me I was wrong. So today you will discover more about it. So we are talking about Zagreb and the continental regions. So the northern part of Croatia, much less known because most of the tourists go on the coast and they drink the wines from those regions. But there are really some hidden gems and also something more than that, as this sommelier stated. So even for me was a discovery that I am getting into more and more. And Zagreb is becoming overall more touristic and is almost all year round touristic destination. So it's becoming more and more attractive and is offering all the best of the country. But of course, focusing on the inner regions first of all, both for food products and wine. So we start from the Zagreb region, so the Croatian uplands, the greener part, so really in the northwest, all around Zagreb and north of it. This is the wine region with more subregions and the most hidden for everybody for many reasons. First of all, there was not that big history before, and second, is full of very small family-run wineries. So it took more time for visibility. They are more humble, so it took longer. Now there are several focus. So we start from some of the indigenous. Graševina is the most planted and the most famous white wine in the north of the country, but more in Slavonia, we'll see later. There is little presence in this part, while Pušipel, aka Furmint, so originally from Toka in Hungary, is the key grape in Međimurje, so bordering Hungary and Slovenia. There are higher hills, is cooler, is wetter, so it's really like Slovenia and Austria look alike, and also similar in the farming, because besides this Furmint, which is present also in the neighboring Slovenia region, they have Sauvignon, a bit of Veltliner, so from Austria, and other aromatic, of course, German Riesling, Rhine Riesling, very little reds, mostly Pinot Noir and some other fresh and easy drinking. So getting more and more interesting. Aromatic wines mostly very affordable, so that is an interesting region, especially for aperitif wines and things like that. Another mention needed for Škrlet. This is in Moslavina, which is southeast of Zagreb. This is the lowest of these regions around Zagreb, so a bit warmer, but there are some smooth hills. Is a local variety, easy one usually, but getting more attention. There is potential even as sparkling or even for aged wines. We are seeing some examples. So also this one is becoming more interesting, but the key sub-region, and there are others, but the key one is Plešivica, so southwest of Zagreb, just half-hour drive. This is the Champenoise region of Croatia, really Champagne-like, for several reasons. It's slightly lower latitude than Champagne, but is higher and cooler. Here we go up to 500 meters some vineyards, but many 300-400. So there is a bit of mountain behind. So there is a balance between latitude and altitude, making very similar to Champagne conditions. Terroir, not really, because basically the soils are similar, but there is the lack of chalk, which is really the footprint of Champagne. But it's very competitive and prices are very reasonable. Even here, all family run, not that famous yet, so prices are still really affordable. Here I can give even some hints of wineries to visit, but you need to book in advance. There is nothing that fancy, big, and with staff there welcoming all day around. Korak, one of the three most famous, probably the most representative, they have Michelin star restaurant. So in that case, there is the professional sommelier. You can go there for sure on any time. But if you want the proper visit in the winery, it's still better to contact them in advance. The other that I recommend is Chambers. So Plešivica has, of course, Chardonnay, Pinot, both white and red. These are the key grapes for the champenoise, so traditional method products. They do even incredible long aging, so very interesting if you are into sparkling serious. There is a good heritage also of old vines in Plešivica, and also some indigenous varieties that they use in small percentages in the blends for the champenoise. That is interesting because there is one in particular with high acidity, so perfect for a traditional method. So another characteristic typical of this place. And of course, they do also still wines with Chardonnay, with Sauvignon, even single vineyards, very top notch. German Riesling, Rhine Riesling also here. And here they do also some amphora and orange wines. So there is a bit more varieties. And also relevant Pinot Noirs they make. Not the age, that is a bit the handicap, but value for money, very interesting, very typical. The two names I mentioned are two of the best I tried so far. So that is also to consider. So this is the most referential sub-region of the area. Of course, the only handicap, no indigenous variety. They are mostly the international ones, but quality top-notch. Moving east, about 3-hour drives from Zagreb, we enter in Slavonia and Danube. So the most famous wine region of the northern continental Croatia. Famous also for something else that maybe many of you don't know, Slavonian oak. The very famous oak used especially for the big botti in Brunello, Barolo production, but all around Italy, of course in Croatia, Slovenia, and in other countries. Those big casks used for many years. They are all sourcing the oak from here. This is in the extreme corner near Serbia and Bosnia, near Danube River. In that corner, very green, is relatively not that big, this forest. And this is the location, Spachva is the name, where the oak for these casks is coming from. So there is something more than just the wine from Slavonia. What is the problem of Slavonia in general? That probably for the non-expert make you think lower, because it's the biggest production region of the country. Graševina, the local variety, Welschriesling, Riesling Italico, or Olaszrizling called in Hungary. Here is Graševina, was mass produced during communism. That is the handicap. So basically, even if, as we will see, and as the sommelier told me, here there is something special about the terroir. The main point is that there is still bulk production, so you have cheap wines, but many very average, very basic. The liter also still. What happened? In the early 90s, somebody started to understand the potential and to focus. The history was long. It was called the Golden Valley, especially Kutivo area, the most special and specific, because of the only volcanic soil in the whole country. Because a particular volcanic, the magma below solidified, and then on top even granite, so very rocky with different compositions, giving a huge, incredible minerality, acidity, so longevity that you cannot find anywhere else in the country. That's probably the real reason the sommelier told me that. But the fight was with the bulk production, the mass production. So Eningi, a Hungarian name, Ivan, he was the first about 35 years ago who started organic, biodynamic, even not that small, bigger scale. He's still in the 80s, following everything himself. He was still driving to Zagreb to deliver wine. Can you imagine? An incredible man. He was the pioneer of the new trend of quality, not quantity. After him, many follow, but there are still many big wineries nowadays. There are some in between, medium, big, making quality, but more standardized, while some smaller artisans like this Ivan and Ingi came up in the last years. So nowadays there is a return to this extreme quality, extreme longevity potential of wines. We can mention Sontacchi is also possible to visit, while Eningi, no, you can understand, he's still one-man show, so he doesn't have the structure to welcome and the time. But Sontacchi is a young family following his path, So that, and I heard is of course you need to contact earlier. If you want to do visit open without any booking, nothing, you need to go for the bigger ones. Galich is very fancy also, the new structure, modern, is a reference, but is a modernist in a way. So you can go for that only. Of course, all well done wines, that for sure, but a bit less soul, let's say. While Sontaki and Ingi, these are really about the soul and also environmental or organic and so on. Another is Krauthacker, which is one of the most famous, also big nowadays, so that also for the visit and focusing on the top line, because they are making a lot of also Chardonnay, Sauvignon, Cabernet Merlot, because in this area you have also all these international. But for the regular, affordable, there is nothing special to say. This is all about Kutivo area specifically. So remember this name because it makes a big difference compared to other parts of Slavonia. The region is quite big. So there is, in the names are the most important to keep in mind, but also the sub-region. There is an exception out of Kutivo, Jasna Antunovic is a clear example. This is really the Danube. There is a curve of the Danube embracing Erdut, the village where she is really on the border with Serbia, so a bit north of the forest we mentioned before, and is a special place, completely different terroir, not usual for wine because it's the black soil, all the micro conditions specific to the place, and her attitude, her low yields, her focus, her soul really able to take out of this place something incredible. So even having a different style of wines, less for longevity compared to Kutivo, she is able to deliver incredible wines with a bit more structure, but still a good longevity. So it's even interesting, these different terroirs. This is something special about Slavonia I'm discovering. There will be a tasting later on about these points, so something interesting to compare. I forgot to mention historical place to see eventually. Kutivo, really the winery that was a cooperative. Now I don't know exactly how is the management. Historical from 13th century, so there is long history really in this region. You can see the cellar is unbelievable from those days with the monks through different managements. Is more for the visit than, but they have also interesting wine. But this is a big winery, so but they have still heritage library of all the wines you may have the chance to try. So that is very interesting. Just not just ice wine because they make also, but even still ones. So also interesting to keep in mind. Then there is Ferichansi, which is just north of Kutivo, so the other side of the mountain basically. That is the best area for Frankovka, which is Blaufränkisch or Keckfränkisch as it's called in Hungary. So red, even if it's exposed more to north, is a bit lower, so a bit warmer, is a basin there. So in the end, it's good for reds to give a bit more roundness. And Sofia is quite big, but they have a good quality standards, also on whites, but in particular for the Frankovka. So this red, so that is also interesting to keep in mind. So as you can see, there are different sub-regions, different characteristics, different terroirs, and different grapes besides the international. But Graševina is the key trademark of the region. So I hope you can get a bit the sense of what the sommelier was meaning from this. I was impressed lately by some tasting, especially in Ingi. So even if you cannot visit him, if you are in Zagreb, you must try one bottle of his. Nothing new, nothing fresh. Everything is at least 3-5 years old. You can still find 2020, 2015, even 2012 I saw somewhere. It's incredible. He's releasing the wines when they are ready to be drunk. And the aging potential of his wines is 10, 20, 30 easily. So incredible. Going back to Zagreb to finish up where we started with some more recommendations, especially if you want to drink these wines being there. So the first address I must hint is Borgstein Wine Bar, also shop, the most historical since early 90s. is in the center near the cathedral. You must go there to have a proper tasting, or if you want to buy some more particular wines, because in the other shops you may not find, even in is not easy to find everywhere. So there is a destination where they have a lot of by glass. They do Croatia wine tasting, different combinations, so you have the chance to try different things. They can tell you a lot of stories. So for sure is a safe address. Link below if you're interested more, because there was a video specifically about this place to know more what they have, how they work. And another one, very tiny, very cozy, very boutique concept, wine house nearby in the nightlife area where many bars are. This is very small, as you can see, but very refined selection, changing often, showcasing a bit all the wines of the country. So you have even particular grapes from the coast. Of course, a nice selection from Zagreb areas and Slavonia. Less choice, of course, is a tiny place, but they can tell you the stories and they have a boutique selection. So these two are safe addresses for that. Restaurants. Wine restaurants, for sure, the most relevant are the two Michelin star, if you like fine dining. Dubravkin Put and Noel. Dubravkin Put is really in a nice place in the forest, just a few hundred meters from the center. You just walk up and then start the forest, and they are really there. Fantastic wine selection, sommelier very prepared. And then Noel instead is in the center, in the lower town. You need to find in a lane, also very refined and good selection. Then you have some more casual venues. Pod Zidom Bistro is a good address in this sense. Refined bistro with a nice selection. They have also several natural wines. They are into that. Of course, smaller scale here, everything space and selection, but interesting to consider. And then eventually Korčula restaurant. So if you want seafood, even in Zagreb, you have something referring to the coast. Of course, they have nice selection of wines, also coastal ones, but also from the continental regions. So I hope I was able to transmit the terroirs, the soul, and the quality concepts that there are even, and the gems, even especially in some of these tiny wineries that we mentioned before and after, so that even the continental regions are very important and becoming more and more visible and still much more value for money. But to sum up everything and to judge by yourself, of course, without tasting is not the same, but to understand even my point of view on the what is really better, at least for my taste, you had to wait to the next chapter about the coastal regions in few weeks, coming soon. In meantime, support us to let you bring more quality. So like, subscribe if you didn't, to get more of this and to help us grow. So share with your wine friends who are interested in more details, more in depth. See you next time, and salute.